All right, hello everybody. I'm conscious that the lunch is going to start in about 15 minutes, so you're not going to want to sit around for very long. So I'm going to move pretty quickly, and then after that we can all go grab some lunch. Anyway, hello, I'm Ben York. I do ecosystem things at Woo Network. Today I'm going to talk a little bit about what we've done in Avalanche so far, bringing CeFi Liquidity into DeFi. And you know, we deal with a lot of institutional clients at Woo Network, and we're very conscious that the solutions that have been put forward over the last half decade are very innovative and they're very good, but they're not quite there yet in terms of onboarding institutions. And you know, this is a path that Avalanche is obviously pushing very hard on. And so we believe that by providing this liquidity on chain, it's going to bring a lot more players into the space. And not just for institutions, also giving more validation to smaller apps, games, things like that. So what I'm going to talk about today, I'm going to talk about real quickly what we've built, how people are working with us, you know, and what we do to support not just the AVAX ecosystem, but also all the other ecosystems that we're deployed on. Got some cute frog memes there as well to keep you entertained. Just a quick overview of everything we've done. This is our volume since last October. You see it's making a up to the right motion, which we all like. The different colors reflect the different networks we're on. That big red one, which reflects about 25 to 50% of the volume, is because of Avalanche, which is one of the reasons why we're so supportive of everything that's going on here. We're the #2 DEX on Avalanche. If you're a competing DEX and you want to dispute that, I will concede that on some days we might be 3rd or 4th behind GMX, but largely we're in the top 4, if not top 2. Still working on Trader Joe. Got a ways to go before we get there. Top 15 on all chains. Again, that fluctuates, but you know, it's something we're quite proud of. That number, it says 100K cross-chain swaps. It's actually 200K since the time I edited this. It's been a very popular use case from the liquidity on chain, especially with all those airdrop hunters that are bouncing from Arbitrum to ZK Sync to everywhere in between. And the last thing, it says more than 10 million in TVL. That is supposed to reflect how capital efficient we are, because I believe like the Pepe ETH pool on Ethereum has about as much TVL as we do in the entire multi-chain application. So we're able to be very efficient. That makes us able to quickly deploy on any chain because we don't have the capital constraints and we don't have to inflate the hell out of our token to get people to move their assets there. Skipping ahead, let's see what happens when I hit the clicker. Okay, this is a little bit about our background and how we do it. We were incubated, let's go back to 2018, Kronos Research, which is one of the largest crypto-native market-making firms, background in HFT market making from Chicago and New York and all those places. They jumped to crypto, and they're one of the few that have been successful. I think, you know, everyone's probably more aware of jump trading, which are more high profile, but it's a very similar firm to that. And they incubated WooX, which was a solution to the problem they had where they didn't want to KYC on a bunch of these up-and-coming exchanges, which turned out to be a pretty prescient idea given the events of the last half year. Anyway, WooX is one of those CeFi exchanges. And actually, this leads into a lot of our branding issues, because if you ask, you know, one of these DeFi maxis out there, what is, you know, the Woo token? They'll tell you it's some KYC CeFi exchange token that they don't want to touch. And if you ask a CeFi trader what it is, they'll say it's a DEX token that they don't know anything about. So this is one of our, you know, big things for this year, is to make sure the branding is more clear. How it all works, WooX has aggregated liquidity from all the top exchanges, and Kronos Research helps aggregate that, as well as some other market makers who are supporting. And they simulate this liquidity on chain. So we call it SPMM. It's obviously much more capital efficient than an AMM. We have our own Oracle technology, which is basically pumping price data into the chain whenever there's deviation on a major asset. And so, you know, we have one of the most competitive pricing available, right? So that makes it really competitive and interesting to brokers, which we're going to get to later. So that's the kind of the boring how it works part. We also have, since we're deployed on so many chains, it makes it really effective for cross-chain swaps. So we're built on Stargate, which uses layer 0 messaging technology. Again, very collaborative. We love those guys. We got our node right next to them, so stop by and grab some merch later. But yeah, all these different chains. Also, there should be a new one for ZK Sync on there, which we just deployed on. The whole idea behind cross-chain swaps is it has to be one click. So it's not like you have to make an approval, and then you have to go to the destination chain and make another approval, and then you're never really sure what's happening. So Stargate allows us to do that. We love that. We also have some innovations that some other cross-chain swaps don't have, where you can actually select. So let's say you have assets on BSC, you want to move to AVAX, but you want to have USD on AVAX. You can actually click a button to bring gas tokens over in the same transaction. So you would have USDT and a little bit of AVAX, so you can get right to work. We also use multiple routes on Stargate, which means we're not just going through one route. We're comparing all the different, whether it's USDT to USDT or ETH to ETH, which makes it more efficient. And you can also send any address, so it's not just a simple bridge. You can also just send it to my friend over there in the front row, if I was to do that. There's an earn product, which basically allows the swap contract to have liquidity. So if you have single-sided assets, you put them in the earn vaults, and then Kronos Research in the background, they have a walled-off smart contract that allows it to move from one contract to that contract, but only that contract. And then they have liquidity on-chain. So that's how we are able to be, not have to use rewards, token incentives to keep building up the supply on all these different networks. There's also no impermanent loss if you're into that. We have vaults on different chains. So other brokers are actually using this as well, which I'll get to probably on the next slide. Right, so broker integrations, I don't know if some of you are developers, but what we're able to do, because our pricing is so competitive. On the top here, you can see that there are a lot of different aggregators, such as 1inch, 0x, Paraswap. Some Avalanche native ones like YieldYak, which we love those guys as well. They just route flow to us. And it's quite interesting because we get really random transactions. For example, let's say someone is swapping from some meme coin to something else. But on the background, what happens is that meme coin gets swapped into like AVAX, and then AVAX gets swapped into USDT, and then that USDT gets swapped into something else, right? So these are the different jumps. Some of those jumps, the middle one, will actually go through our smart contracts. So we have no idea who the user is, and the user has no idea that we're there in the middle either. But we end up getting a lot of flow, and that's what allows us to compete with a lot of the, let's call them like front-end only DEXs. Also wallets and other dApps. Fireblocks, we're integrated there. There's some alpha with the BonesBet guys here, who I can see as well. They're also going to integrate us into their roulette casino app so that their users, when they land on the casino page, they're able to, oh, you know, I don't have any AVAX on chain. How do I get it there? Oh, I have some on Polygon. I'll just swap it right over. Right? So, you know, we want to be very collaborative, work with every builder in the space, especially the ones we like BonesBet. To really build this CeFi network, this CeFi Liquidity network on Avalanche. Some other wallets, Bitkeep and Onto. So their users, they often have a swap widget within the wallet. They're able to, use WooFi Liquidity without ever even realizing it as well. Yeah, this is an area we want to keep expanding. And if you have any interest in that, talking to us, please do reach out. On the CeFi side, this is actually a resource that a lot of DEXs don't have. As these other apps, their ecosystem starts to grow, maybe they have a token. Maybe they have a governance token that they want to start thinking about listing. So we're definitely open to collaborations there. We have access to market makers who can provide liquidity. We love doing co-marketing, helping spread the word. So yeah, this is something we can do as well. Talking a little bit about what we do for Avalanche. Obviously, Avalanche was pushing BTCB very hard earlier this year, and we love BTCB, right? One of the reasons is why it's like WBTC. There's some, custodial concerns, and to unwrap it, it's quite a lengthy process. There's also depegging concerns. So for a market maker, that brings in a lot of uncertainty, which turns into headaches. And so when BTCB came out, it's very easy to unwrap, which allows us to treat it almost exactly the same as Bitcoin, native Bitcoin. So we're able to provide the same liquidity we provide Bitcoin on chain with BTCB. Here's a swap happening on 1inch. Some user tried to swap 10 Bitcoin 90% of it went through the WuFi USDC pool. Another 10% got swapped to the WETH pool and then into USDC to find the most efficient route. So this is great because Avalanche wants to scale this, and when you have all these new ecosystems, oftentimes, like what is the biggest stablecoin or what is the biggest wrapped Bitcoin solution? It's whoever has liquidity there first, they become the first mover, all the liquidity starts to accumulate there, and then people who want to use that ecosystem, they also have to acquire that asset. So we're working very hard with Avalanche to make sure if they want to push BTCB into some other ecosystem, we would be right there, right? We could deploy it day one, the same liquidity you have. We would not need to put up some liquidity mining campaign to get all our users to bridge over, right? So this is something we're doing, and one of the reasons why they're very happy with us, among other reasons. But yeah, that's what we're doing there. We also love education, so if any of you guys have a project and you're thinking about working with us, we're open to anything. We do a lot of quests using a protocol called Layer 3. That's one example. There's other protocols we work with. And basically the whole idea is that users, they have to bridge into the chain, they have to interact with maybe AMM, a yield farm, maybe us, maybe one of our competitors, and just understand the whole ecosystem. And then they can collect these NFTs that have various fun things, not big utility, but in terms of onboarding users, we found this very, very effective. And as you can see the numbers right there, our Christmas one had 23,000 unique addresses claim it. So yeah, for any sort of application who's looking to do something, our door is always open. We're willing to work with you guys on that side. Coming up for us next, we're really looking to deploy on more chains. So that, you might think, oh, well, that's not good for Avalanche, but every time we deploy on another chain, it's just another avenue back to Avalanche because of the cross-chain swaps. So we're going to be very active there. And yeah, basically, if you have any idea, any crazy thing you want to bounce off us, please do find the link tree. Find us in the node. We're right between Layer 0 and Trader Joe, so we're very easy to find. We got some cool T-shirts down there, and we're very eager to talk. So I don't know if anyone has any questions, or oh, we got one. Awesome. Go ahead. Yes. Right. Well, it's a smart contract, fully decentralized. There's no KYC, right? So when users go to 1 inch, there's no KYC, right? What is the KYC part that you said in the beginning? That is for our centralized exchange. So we have two main projects. We'll call them two main flagship products right now: a DEX and a SEX, right? So the KYC is on the SEX. You could think of it like this. So we aggregate liquidity from major CeFi platforms. Obviously, Binance is a big one, OKX, Coinbase, also DYDX, interestingly enough. And then that gets put into a centralized order book, right? That is the Wu network. That is the CeFi part. We have an exchange called WuX that is built on top of that. That is KYC. So what happens on the swap is that we have a market maker, Kronos Research, who places... they quote. I don't know if you're familiar with like a RFQ. It's like a request for quote. When a user wants to trade something, they provide the price that they're willing to swap at. So this is actually done into the blocks. So when someone hits the smart contract, that information is on chain and anyone can hit it. And interestingly, that makes it very robust because if they mess up their pricing, we can get arbitraged and lose a lot of money. So it's a very good incentive to be like always on. And then after that happens, Kronos Research, they will see that trade and they will hedge it back on WuX so that they have no exposure to the market. So our customer don't need to do any KYC? No idea, yeah. That is the vision, yes, that is the vision, right? Yeah, thank you. Yeah. And actually, there's one other caveat that I didn't mention, is that a lot of institutions, when they're trading in DeFi, they have concerns about where their counterparty is, and they don't want to be, trading against terrorists or some countries that the U.S. sanctions. So because of the setup, how our counterparty is always Kronos Research, we're actually able to onboard a lot of different institutions. So that's some of the things that we're talking to people like Fireblocks about, like how can we get closer to them? How can their customers feel more comfortable about these DeFi interactions? But yeah, thank you for the questions. Any follow-ups or other questions? I mean, if there's nothing, we can just cut out early and go to lunch. I'm totally okay with that.
But BTCB also works with other chain. But like, what is so I'm kind of confused. Like, why Avalanche is pushing it because it's also local like Ethereum, but the TV of Avalanche is of course the biggest one because Avalanche is banked.
Right. So yeah, I mean, it would always be the first mover here, but for users, when they come to Avalanche, they don't want to have some weird asset that they've never used before. Like, I use WBTC. What is BTCB, right? So the branding of the asset, if they want institutional clients to hold it, it has to permeate throughout the entire crypto space. I mean, they want users on all like CeFi platforms to be able to deposit BTCB into their platforms. So, their vision is much bigger, even though maybe it doesn't make as much sense to incentivize using Arbitrum network with BTCB. But from a long-term view, I think it makes a lot of sense. And so, yeah, we can help them uniquely in that space because we're already deployed on those chains. We already have liquidity there and infra there, and we can just plug it in, go from day one. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, we're recorded, so I don't want my family back home to see me standing up here with no questions. So that means a lot to me. Yeah. All right. Yeah, why don't we do this? Let's all go get lunch. We'll be outside. If you want to come up to us and talk to us, that'd be great. Thank you so much for your time today.